This is the Henry's Child Podcast. Am I crazy? Or am I just raving?
Well, if you were listening to this when this podcast came out, it is late July 2020. So first off, congratulations for making it this far. If you have survived, there's no doubt that you are sort of doing what you've been told when it comes to this pandemic, this global pandemic that is affecting everyone. And we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you can listen to the Am I Crazy or Am I Just Raving podcast. And I'm especially glad because today I have a brand new series that I wanted to bring you. And like all things, your feedback is incredibly special and incredibly valuable. So go ahead and give this a listen. And if you like it, I will continue this series. I'm going to call it the Missing Music series. And I'm going to tie together some loose ends when it comes to the Eugene music scene and Henry's Child and how those are interrelated and how they sort of birthed the next evolution of whatever we became. So obviously, if you followed, say, the string of me and Rich, we went from Henry's Child to Attack Ships on Fire to First Sleep to 7 Second Circle, and now kind of do both full time. So that's just an example, but we'll get into it in a sec. Before I do, I wanted to go ahead and give a little more updates for you. Listen Closely is now available. It's available on Bandcamp. You can find the link to buy the record by going to henryschild.com, or you can go directly to Bandcamp with the simple to remember URL of henryschild.bandcamp.com. That's henryschild.bandcamp.com. And you can purchase the physical CD and a digital copy of the new record. If you are waiting for this to hit the streaming services, that will happen on July 31st. So very, very soon, it's going to be included in the streaming services. And by streaming services, I mean things like Spotify, YouTube, and basically anything that the package that we bought allows us to have. So that's happening. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is I wanted to see if you would be interested in doing a social distancing show. I threw this out in the newsletter and I got a really great response. And I wanted to just see if I could get more feedback on what it would look like to do a social distancing pop-up show. It would likely be in Salem. We would take every precaution that the state basically mandates. And, I wanted to see if that would be something that would interest you. It would likely be outside, and, it would be Henry's Child and maybe a couple other bands around. We're just kind of trying to create something out of nothing. And so, let me know. The best way to get a hold of me is actually over email, which is henryschild@henryschild.com. And, I'm putting together a little tally, making sure we don't go over the amount of folks that the state government would like us to go over. So we're trying to kind of honor that as well. So let me know. henryschild@henryschild.com. Will let me know if you'd like to do a pop-up show. And then the last order of business I have today is the new website. So I wanted to make sure if you haven't checked out henryschild.com recently, I completely redid it soup to nuts. It is not only new code, but it looks a lot better and it's just completely different. I chose to mix it up with a horizontal scroll. And you really only get that effect when you're using a computer or a laptop. But when you're on a mobile device like an iPad or an iPhone, then it seems to flow in a vertical position. But it's different. It's very cool. I like the design of it. And I'd love to hear your feedback about it. If you like it, if you hate it, what you'd like to see, if there's something maybe that I missed, some sort of thing. Maybe you'd like to see reviews up there, or maybe you'd like to see more pictures. Anyway, go ahead and check it out, and you can send me your feedback at henryschild@henryschild.com. And of course, the URL is henryschild.com. So there you go. So today's podcast is about missing music. And I just like things that have alliteration. And I also chose to share songs that maybe you wouldn't necessarily have heard. It's really, they fall into one of two categories. Either number one, they're just kind of like a song that never made it on a record, but we recorded, which there's a handful of those. Some of those are the ones that made it on the retrospective 20 disc that we did back in 2014. However, those are actually really not even available. If you have one, congratulations. We're likely not going to be pressing that again. But the retrospective 20, I think I have about 4 down at the office, and I actually took it off of Bandcamp because folks were buying them and I wasn't sure that there was going to be enough to go around. And number 2 was songs that have stuck around and have survived the duration. So today I'm starting with some pretty low-hanging fruit, and that is a song called The Wheel. So let me set the stage for you. It is mid-1998. Andrew Smith left in February of 1998, and we immediately started on a search for singers. If you'd be interested, I would love to play you some of the demos that we got, because we just found these and our buddy Steve Rogers went and digitized them. So now we can actually offer the demos of people that wanted to sing for Henry's Child. Anyway, it's 1998 and it's mid-1998, and we had landed on Rex Morningstar. And Rex Morningstar was a friend. I played in a band called Hack with him. Great dude. Really, more importantly, personality-wise, he really got along with everybody in the band, and had brought in a whole slew of different friends that, ended up being lifelong friends. In tandem with that, we started messing around with keyboards. And Jarrett had gone out and purchased a big keyboard called the XP80. And to this day, it's pretty impressive. It's a weighted keyboard that kind of came with a bunch of sounds, and you could add in sounds on disc. It's just kind of an old school, by today's standards, it's an old school keyboard. But we started experimenting with it. In that experimentation, we threw this out first as just an idea that Rex put lyrics over. And then secondly, it actually made it on the record that we took to Elemental Records as our second release, and they actually declined it. So they chose not to take it on. And at that time, what we didn't know is that the negotiations with Cassandra had already began. So at any rate, we had the song kind of sticking around. And we also chose to send it out to Andy Makin as a demo to see what he could do. And it's awesome, because what you're about ready to hear is 2 sets of identical ingredients and completely different recipes, completely different outcomes, with the exact same thing to start. And I think that this is a testament to us being, first off, lifelong musicians, and secondly, being open to be able to have this communication, this openness, this communal kind of thing with folks, which we still hold as a core value to this day. So, I've blabbered on enough about this. Let me go ahead and start this. You're about ready to hear the song The Wheel. This is the version that was on the cassette single that we released essentially before we did the record, and then the record never got pressed. So this would be the only public thing that was released from this time with Rex, a song called The Wheel. The Living Prophets, indeed. Indeed. So that was The Wheel by Henry's Child with Rex Morningstar singing. And Rex was with us for about a year. We did 2 tours. We cut a record that really never saw the light of day. And this song that you just heard, The Wheel, was actually part of a cassette single that we had released in mid-1998. So then Rex quits the band, and we're kind of left with the same thing. Rich and I are kind of looking at each other going like, do we want to keep going with this? Is this going to be something that we want to do? And of course, there was no question. We loved playing music, and we really liked Henry's Child, and so we decided to stick with it. And so as sticking with it, we threw out a bunch of ads. And by this time, the internet was a thing, and we started posting on our website that we were looking for a singer, and we actually did some online advertising, I guess, like a classified advertising with the Rocket and the Mercury, and those were local papers that you would just send them off stuff and they would print it out and they would include it on their website. And keep in mind, Craigslist wasn't even around then. This is 1999. Early 1999 by this time. So being that we had the music and that it really wasn't released, we sent this off to Andy Makin to see what he could do with it. And so all the way over in the UK, Andy took this music, and went into a studio and produced a song called Hollow. So check it out. Music from The Wheel by Henry's Child, but the song Hollow. Andy Makin's interpretation. You're going to love it. Check it out. like I said before, this was kind of done pre-internet as we know it. And so we couldn't really transmit things like MP3s over email, say, or there wasn't this whole idea of a Google Drive or a cloud drive. It didn't really exist at the time. And so the way Andy Makin sent it to us was to my work. And the reason that he sent it to my work is because we were concerned that somebody might not be there, 24/7. And so I worked at a service station doing like bookkeeping type stuff by then for it. And, somebody was always there. So he had sent it and we were just slack-jawed because he had sent a burnable CD, which was like impressive to begin with, right? And we were down, I remember we were in the back office and Jessica Smith was there. And she's like, "Why are you so excited?" And I'm like, "Dude, check this out. This could be the singer of Henry's Child." And by this time, Rich had been talking to Andy. I mean, we were acquaintances. I mean, we had known each other. We were talking back and forth. We're like, this guy's cool. He thinks we're cool, kind of a thing. And then that shows up. I mean, imagine that. I mean, it was amazing. Those harmonies on there. And really coming from a place of nothing with kind of trying to forget about what Rex had done and seeing what this new landscape was. So this really, honestly, is the only example I have of kind of this polarization of different people doing the same song. But I thought it was cool enough to share with you and to listen to the differences. And, it's just kind of a different thing that I thought you might enjoy. So that is kind of my idea with the whole Missing Music series. If you think that this is something that you'd want to hear more of, so, for example, I have the B-side of what was on that Wheel cassette single, and it was a song called Burn that was Rex Morningstar's song that we just kind of played on. But if you'd like to hear more like that, let me know. You can write me over Facebook or, of course, at henryschild@henryschild.com, which I feel like I've said a lot today. But I had a lot of fun sort of putting this together and doing this podcast. And, if you like it, let me know for sure. So I guess to wrap it up, if you don't have Listen Closely, go to henryschild.bandcamp.com and get either the digital or physical version. Like I said last week, I send CDs out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it will be coming from Portland. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that there's a petition going around right now that deserves a few minutes of your attention. And that petition is the Save Our Stages initiative. And I posted about this last Thursday of last week on our Facebook page. But if you want to check it out yourself, you should go to saveourstages.com. It's a plural stages. And it's an organization that's trying to get together money to keep independent venues together. And by independent venues, we're talking about things like Hi-Fi, Shotsky's, Kelly's Olympian, places that are bars and places that we would play and places that, provide music and art to the community. And music and art is important. And having that anchor, that sanity check, that grounding of having good art in your life really helps with the anxiety of what's going on in the world right now. So I'm not going to really make a commentary about that, but I'm going to say that art is important and that local music can save lives for sure. Absolutely. So that's all I got for you today. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Please check out the new website. And if you're not on our newsletter list, on the very first page of henryschild.com is a place to put in your first name and email address. Drop that. You get a new copy of a song sent to your email, and then you are on our list for the latest and greatest information about Henry's Child. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for letting me come into your ear hole for the last half hour. I appreciate it. We appreciate you. We love you, and we will see you very soon.
It came out my mouth.